Tonight we uncover the strange and elusive world of hidden tombs and lost burial sites. Graves that seem to defy history, archaeology, and sometimes even common sense. From ancient kings buried with forgotten technologies to entire burial cities erased from memory, these are not just stories, they are scientific enigmas. So before you get comfortable, as always, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel only if you enjoy our content. Also, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Sometimes our stories are too interesting, and we are working on some boring ones too. It's time now to dim the lights, turn on a fan for some soft background noise, and let's cover what we have for tonight. Together. Few names in human history echo like his. Alexander of Macedon, the conqueror of Persia, Egypt, and much of the known world. A man whose very presence changed the course of civilizations. His campaigns stretched across continents. He built cities, crushed empires, and inspired legends that have lasted for over 2,000 years. But for all his fame, glory, and unmatched ambition, there is one mystery science and archaeology have never been able to solve. Where is he? The tomb of Alexander the Great has never been found, and that fact alone makes it one of the greatest enigmas in ancient history. According to ancient sources, his body was placed in a magnificent golden sarcophagus and originally intended for burial in Macedonia. But somewhere along the journey, his remains were diverted to Egypt. Ptolemy, one of his generals and eventual ruler of Egypt, allegedly seized the body and buried it in Alexandria. A tomb was built. It became a place of pilgrimage. Even Roman emperors visited it, including Augustus and Caligula. And then, silence. Somewhere between the 3rd and 4th century AD, the tomb vanished from history. No confirmed records, no clear location, just fragments, whispers. A few coins, some second-hand writings, and vague references in medieval texts. For centuries, explorers, scholars, and archaeologists have searched the city of Alexandria, hoping to uncover even a trace of Alexander's resting place. But despite all efforts, not a single verifiable artifact tied to his burial has ever emerged. Was it destroyed by earthquakes, swallowed by the rising sea? Or could it still lie hidden beneath the modern streets of Alexandria, sealed beneath layers of stone and time? Some believe the tomb was deliberately concealed to protect it from looting. Others whisper of secret societies, ancient curses and maps, long lost to fire and war. And still, others think the entire story of his Egyptian burial was fabricated, an illusion woven by those who sought to control his legacy. In a world where we can scan underground with radar, map entire cities from satellites, and recreate the past with digital models, we still can't find Alexander. Maybe we're not supposed to. Deep beneath a forested hill in Shanxi province, China, lies a tomb that has remained untouched for over 2,000 years. It belongs to Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, a man whose ambitions were as grand as the Great Wall he began to build. And yet, despite his towering legacy, his final resting place remains undisturbed. Not because it's been forgotten, but because even in our modern age, science dares not touch it. The mausoleum is part of a vast complex discovered in 1974, when farmers stumbled upon one of the most incredible archaeological finds of the 20th century, the Terracotta Army. Thousands of life-sized soldiers, horses, and chariots, all buried to guard the emperor in the afterlife. Each figure is unique, handcrafted, lifelike. It was a message to the heavens. Here lies a ruler whose power did not end with death, and yet, these guardians are just the beginning. Ground-penetrating radar and ancient Chinese texts suggest something far larger lies beneath the mound. An immense subterranean palace, complete with rivers of liquid mercury, automated traps, and ceilings painted to mimic the constellations. Sima Qian, a historian writing over a century after the emperor's death, described an underground world too complex to believe. And the strange part? Modern soil testing has revealed unnaturally high levels of mercury around the site, lending eerie credibility to the ancient texts. So why hasn't it been opened? Because the Chinese government and much of the archaeological community fears that excavating the tomb could destroy it. Our technology may not yet be precise enough to safely explore what could be one of the most delicate and mysterious burial sites in the world. Imagine uncovering something so intricate, so intentionally protected, that disturbing it might erase its secrets forever. The mound is visible. The entrance is known, but the tomb remains untouched. There are rumors of those who tried to sneak closer, of strange illnesses, of systems that still function deep underground. Qin Shi Huang sought immortality in life. In a way, he may have found it in death, his tomb hidden, protected, and whispering across time. What waits inside? Gold? Maps? Forbidden texts? Or something we're not prepared to understand? For now, it sleeps. He was one of the most feared and admired conquerors the world has ever known. Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire, united the steppes and reshaped entire civilizations with sword and strategy. His armies swept across Asia, the Middle East, and into Europe, leaving a legacy that still echoes in the DNA of millions of people today. And yet, no one knows where he is buried. Not a single trace of his tomb has ever been confirmed. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, his followers honored one of his final wishes, that his burial remain a secret forever. According to legend, his funeral procession killed anyone it encountered on the way to the burial site: merchants, soldiers, even animals. Once his body was laid to rest, the soldiers allegedly trampled the earth with horses to erase any signs of digging. Then they killed themselves. The legend grows darker. A river was supposedly diverted to flow over the grave. Trees were planted. Nature was weaponized to keep the secret sealed for eternity. And it worked. Despite centuries of searching by Mongol historians, Chinese dynasties, Russian explorers, and modern archaeologists, no definitive location has been found. Some say the tomb lies in the Khenti Mountains of Mongolia, in a place known only as Ikkorik or the Great Taboo. For centuries, this region was declared sacred and off-limits. Even today, with satellite imagery and advanced scanning tools, researchers remain cautious. Many Mongolians view the site as sacred. Disturbing it is considered a cultural violation, even a curse. In 2004, a team led by Japanese archaeologists believed they were close. Subtle ground patterns, unusual topography, but suddenly the project was shut down. No explanation, no further updates, just silence. And then came the whispers. Those who go looking too hard seem to fall ill. Equipment fails, funding disappears, permissions are revoked. Could the greatest emperor of the steppes have truly erased his presence from history? Or is something still protecting him? There's a belief in Mongolia. When Genghis Khan rises again, it will be at a time when the world most needs him. Perhaps his body is hidden not just for privacy, but for prophecy. Until then, the earth keeps his secret. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, a queen whose beauty and intellect seduced two of Rome's most powerful men, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Cleopatra VII ruled in an era of shifting empires, and her death marked the end of Egypt's dynastic age. Yet despite her fame, her brilliance, and her tragedy, no one has ever found her tomb, and that mystery has haunted historians for over 2,000 years. According to ancient Roman sources, Cleopatra and Mark Antony took their own lives after their defeat at the Battle of Actium. The Roman historian Plutarch claimed that Octavian, who would become Augustus Caesar, allowed the lovers to be buried together. He even admired their bond, and allegedly ensured they were given a proper burial. But where? Most scholars believe Cleopatra's tomb lies near Alexandria, once a thriving city of marble palaces and libraries by the sea. But earthquakes, tsunamis, and centuries of conflict have turned much of ancient Alexandria into underwater ruins. What was once the heart of Cleopatra's kingdom now sleeps beneath the waves, or lies buried under modern streets and concrete. In recent years, a new theory has taken hold. A site called Taposiris Magna, just west of Alexandria, has become the focus of renewed exploration. Inside the crumbling remains of a once mighty temple, archaeologists have found tombs, coins with Cleopatra's face, and traces of high-status burials. Could this be the place? Dr. Kathleen Martinez, a Dominican archaeologist, has spent nearly 2 decades searching here, believing Cleopatra may have chosen to bury herself not in a traditional royal necropolis, but in a sacred temple, close to the goddess Isis, with whom she closely identified. Some tombs at Taposiris Magna remain sealed, others have only just begun to be explored. And still, the clues feel just out of reach. What if her tomb was hidden on purpose, to protect her from desecration? Or what if Octavian lied, claiming to honor her while secretly destroying the last trace of Egyptian sovereignty? As new ground-penetrating tools scan deeper into the earth, the world watches with quiet anticipation. Because if Cleopatra's tomb is ever found, it wouldn't just solve a mystery. It would open a window into a lost world of politics, power, and passion. For now, the Queen of the Nile sleeps in silence, somewhere. In the dense jungles of southern Mexico lies one of the most enigmatic tombs in the Americas, a burial site that has stirred fascination, wonder, and even wild theories of ancient astronauts. It belongs to Kinich Janab Pakal, better known as Pakal the Great, a powerful Mayan ruler of the city of Palenque. Pakal reigned for nearly 70 years during the 7th century, overseeing a golden age of architecture, art, and knowledge. But it wasn't just his life that intrigued archaeologists, it was what happened after his death. His tomb was discovered in 1952, hidden deep within the Temple of the Inscriptions, a 9-tiered pyramid rising from the jungle canopy. For centuries, no one knew it was a tomb at all. It wasn't until a secret stairway was uncovered, sealed with heavy stone plugs, that the true mystery began. Inside, beneath the pyramid, archaeologists found an elaborately carved sarcophagus, its lid bearing one of the most iconic and puzzling images in Mesoamerican archaeology. To the Mayans, the carving showed Pakal descending into the underworld, Xibalba, surrounded by celestial symbols. But to others, it appeared shockingly modern. Pakal is shown reclining in a seat, surrounded by controls, his foot poised over a pedal, his face focused forward, almost as if he's piloting a spacecraft. It's no surprise that this image became a cornerstone of the ancient astronaut theory. Erich von Däniken famously featured it in his 1968 book Chariots of the Gods, suggesting Pakal wasn't just a king, but a visitor from the stars, or at least someone in contact with them. Mainstream scholars strongly disagree. They interpret the imagery as deeply symbolic, rooted in Mayan cosmology and mythology. Still, the resemblance is eerie. Adding to the mystery, Pakal's body was remarkably well preserved, his face adorned with a jade mask and intricate jewelry. But even more intriguing, there are still sealed chambers within the temple structure that remain unexplored. Rumors suggest these could contain other royal burials, or even secret knowledge written in ancient glyphs. Why were parts of the tomb so deliberately hidden? Was it to protect Pakal's journey into the afterlife, or to guard something else entirely? Whatever the truth, Pakal's tomb continues to whisper across centuries, balancing between myth, science, and something stranger still. It's the most famous tomb ever discovered. In 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered the resting place of the boy king Tutankhamun, the world stood still. Gold-covered chariots, jeweled daggers, statues of gods, and the now iconic golden death mask, buried for over 3,000 years and untouched by looters. But what if the greatest secret of Tutankhamun's tomb still hasn't been found? The tomb, officially labeled KV62, is relatively small compared to those of other pharaohs. That alone raised questions. Why would a king, especially one with such ornate burial treasures, be placed in a chamber that seems like an afterthought? Was it built in haste after his unexpected death at age 18? Or was it never meant to be his tomb at all? In 2015, a bold theory reignited global interest. British archaeologist Nicholas Reeves proposed that behind the tomb's northern wall might lie a hidden chamber, and within it, the burial of Queen Nefertiti, one of ancient Egypt's most powerful and mysterious women. Reeves noticed faint outlines beneath the painted walls, suggestive of sealed doorways. ground-penetrating radar scans appeared to support the idea, revealing anomalies behind the walls that didn't match the surrounding rock. Suddenly, speculation exploded. Could Nefertiti, the elusive queen who may have ruled as a pharaoh in her own right, be lying just meters from the world's most famous mummy? The Egyptian government responded with caution. More scans were done. Some results were promising, others inconclusive. By 2020, the mystery remained officially unresolved. The walls had not been breached. The secrets, if any, remained sealed. But the silence itself is telling. Why hesitate? Is it the risk of damaging ancient artwork? Or is there fear that what lies behind those walls could rewrite the history of Egypt's 18th dynasty? And there are whispers of symmetrical construction, architectural inconsistencies, and subtle clues in the artwork that suggest Tutankhamun was buried in a tomb originally meant for a queen. Whether by design or accident, the possibility of hidden chambers lingers. Behind painted walls, history may still be waiting, quiet, dark, and perfectly preserved. And if Nefertiti truly rests beyond that wall, we may be closer than ever to meeting the face of ancient power. Before the pharaohs, before Rome, before even the Bible, there was Gilgamesh, a warrior, a builder, and perhaps the world's very first literary hero. Gilgamesh ruled the ancient city of Uruk in what is now southern Iraq. His story, recorded on cuneiform tablets over 4,000 years ago, is part myth, part history, and entirely unforgettable, but here's the mystery. Gilgamesh may not have been just a legend. According to ancient Sumerian king lists, he was a real ruler, a demigod, 2/3 divine, 1/3 man. His epic tale describes battles with monsters, friendships with wild men, and even a journey in search of immortality. And when he died, legend says he was buried in a tomb beneath the Euphrates River itself, sealed forever by the water of the gods. For centuries, this sounded like pure myth. Then came 2003. During the Iraq War, a team of German archaeologists working near the ruins of Uruk made an astonishing claim. They had found what they believed was the lost tomb of Gilgamesh. Using ground-penetrating radar, they detected a buried structure that matched ancient descriptions, a complex of rooms, corridors, and what appeared to be a burial chamber, all submerged beneath the dry riverbed of the once mighty Euphrates. And then, silence. Shortly after the announcement, war engulfed the region. The site was abandoned. Artifacts were looted. Documents vanished. And the alleged discovery? Never confirmed. No photos, no follow-up. Just a single whisper in a sea of chaos. What did they find beneath the sands of Uruk? Was it truly the tomb of Gilgamesh, or just wishful interpretation? Some believe the find was real and has been suppressed, buried again under politics and secrecy. Others wonder if the tomb was protected by something ancient, something not meant to be disturbed. After all, Gilgamesh sought to defy death. What if his burial site holds more than just bones? Today, Uruk lies in ruins. The river has shifted, the desert winds have returned. But deep underground, beneath the ghost of a river and the shadow of legend, something might still be there. A tomb, a king, a story older than time, waiting to be finished. In the scorched cliffs of Egypt's Valley of the Kings, among tombs that have been studied for centuries, there lies one burial site so vast, so labyrinthine, and so unexpectedly complex that it stunned even the most seasoned archaeologists. Its name is simple, KV5, but its story is anything but. KV5 was first noted in the 1820s, but dismissed as insignificant. Sand filled the corridors. The layout appeared modest. For nearly 170 years, it was largely ignored. Then, in 1995, everything changed. Led by Dr. Kent Weeks, the Theban Mapping Project began a re-excavation of KV5. As debris was cleared and tunnels reopened, what they uncovered was astonishing. Not one burial chamber, not two, but over 120 separate rooms, interconnected by long corridors, twisting passages, and hidden niches. It wasn't a simple tomb. It was an underground city of the dead. And the tomb's owner, not a single pharaoh, but the sons of Ramses II, one of Egypt's greatest and most long-lived rulers. Ramses II, often called Ramses the Great, had over 100 children. KV5 appears to have been a family tomb designed to house his many sons, most of whom died before him. But why was it so grand? Why so hidden? And why was it forgotten? Inside, archaeologists discovered shattered statues, broken sarcophagi, and fragments of inscriptions bearing names like Amun-Herkhepeshef, one of Ramses's eldest sons. But the deeper the team dug, the stranger the tomb became. New chambers kept appearing, rooms beyond rooms, stairs descending into darkness, with no clear end in sight. Some believe KV5 may eventually be revealed as the largest tomb in all of Egypt, and yet much of it still remains unexplored. Why was such a massive effort made to bury these princes in secret? Was it tradition? Honor? Or did these chambers serve another purpose entirely? One we've yet to understand? Adding to the enigma is the tomb's disrepair. Was it looted in ancient times? Or was something more deliberate done, perhaps to protect what lies inside? Even today, KV5 is only partially mapped. The rest is sealed beneath centuries of rock and silence. But the deeper we go, the more it seems KV5 was not just a resting place, but a royal riddle carved into the earth. High in the arid deserts of southern Peru, etched across the barren earth, lie the famous Nazca lines, giant geoglyphs of animals, geometric patterns, and long ruler-straight paths that stretch for miles. Their purpose has been debated for decades. But just beneath the surface, hidden among windswept plains and rocky outcrops, lies an even deeper mystery. The burial sites of the Nazca elite. The Nazca civilization flourished between 100 BCE and 800 CE. They were master engineers, constructing underground aqueducts, creating vibrant pottery, and weaving textiles with colors that haven't faded in over 1,000 years. But perhaps their greatest legacy, aside from the mysterious lines, is how little we know about their dead. While hundreds of ordinary Nazca mummies have been found in open desert cemeteries like Chochilla, the tombs of the elite rulers, priests, and astronomer kings seem almost entirely absent. Where are the bodies of those who commissioned the lines, ruled over vast territories, and built the intricate bukios, those underground water systems still in use today? Some researchers believe the Nazca elite were buried in hidden shaft tombs, placed far from the common graveyards to protect them from desecration. Others suggest they were entombed directly beneath the largest geoglyphs, perhaps as part of a cosmic ritual meant to align life, death, and the stars. In 2018, a series of underground chambers were discovered near the site of Kawachi, an ancient Nazca ceremonial center. Within them, bundled mummies, ceramic offerings, and mysterious headgear unlike anything seen in other burials. Some of the bodies were found seated in fetal positions, their skulls elongated through cranial deformation, a practice associated with status and power. But most of the chambers were empty. Who was buried here? And why were so many tombs left untouched, sealed, or entirely hidden? There's also the unsettling matter of trophy heads, skulls with holes drilled into the forehead, often found near burial sites. Were they war trophies, ritual offerings, or part of some forgotten funerary tradition? The Nazca built monuments meant to be seen from the heavens. Perhaps their elite dead were buried to be watched over by the gods, or by something even older. Even now, the sands shift and pieces of the past emerge, briefly, before being swallowed again. Beneath the lines, something waits. They called him the Scourge of God, a man whose name struck fear into the heart of Rome. Attila the Hun, leader of the Hunnic Empire, swept across Europe in the 5th century like a storm. Cities fell before him. Emperors paid him tribute. His wrath was legendary. But when it came time for Attila to die, the man who could not be defeated in life vanished completely in death. The year was 453 CE. On the night of his wedding, Attila was found dead in his tent. The official story? A nosebleed, perhaps worsened by heavy drinking. But even his death is shrouded in uncertainty. Murder, poisoning, or an elaborate assassination plot, no one can say for sure. What followed is even more mysterious. According to legend, his men buried him in complete secrecy. His body was placed in 3 coffins, one of gold, one of silver, and one of iron. This was to symbolize his rule over the 3 realms, heaven, earth, and the underworld. To conceal the location, they allegedly diverted the flow of a river, buried him in the dry bed, and then returned the water to its course. And the men who carried out the burial, executed immediately, so no one would ever reveal the grave's location. For over 1,500 years, no trace of Attila's tomb has ever been found. Some believe he lies beneath the Tisa River in modern-day Hungary. Others suspect the Carpathian Basin holds the secret hidden under farmland, forests, or silted marshes. A few even whisper that his tomb is cursed, that any who attempt to find it are doomed to fail. Despite modern tools, satellite imaging, subsurface radar, and deep soil analysis, Attila's final resting place remains one of the most enduring burial mysteries of all time. Why go to such lengths to erase his presence? Was it reverence or fear? It's said that in life, Attila was unstoppable. In death, he became untouchable. And yet, somewhere in the heart of Europe, beneath layers of earth and centuries of silence, a triple-layered coffin may still wait, sealed away with treasure, history, and perhaps the final heartbeat of an empire that terrified the world. One day we may find him, or perhaps he was never meant to be found. In the heart of Tokyo, hidden among towering buildings and the hum of modern life, lies a quiet temple. Its grounds are simple. Its stone lanterns flicker with the soft glow of incense. But this unassuming place holds one of Japan's most enduring legends, a story of loyalty, honor, and a burial site shrouded in reverence. This is Sengakuji Temple, the final resting place of the 47 Ronin. The story begins in 1701, during the Edo period. A young lord, Asano Naganori, was provoked and humiliated by a corrupt court official, Kira Yoshinaka. In a moment of rage, Asano drew his sword inside the shogun's palace, a forbidden act. For this, he was ordered to commit seppuku, ritual suicide. His lands were seized, his samurai were cast out, becoming ronin, masterless warriors, disgraced and dishonored. But they did not forget. For nearly 2 years, the 47 ronin plotted quietly, pretending to become drunks, beggars, and tradesmen. Then, on a snowy night in December 1702, they struck. They stormed Kira's mansion, found him hiding in a storage shed, and exacted their revenge. They didn't flee. They turned themselves in. As expected, the shogun ordered them to commit seppuku. And they did, each one with calm resolve, honoring the code of Bushido, the way of the warrior. Their bodies were buried beside their fallen master, Lord Asano, in Sengakuji. Today, the graves remain perfectly aligned, simple yet powerful. Visitors come not out of curiosity, but respect. Offerings of incense, coins, and letters are left at their stones. Some still weep. But here's what makes their burial site truly mysterious. Over the centuries, strange accounts have circulated. Visitors claim to feel a sudden heaviness near the tombs, an unseen presence watching. Some have heard whispers. Others report a sharp chill in the air, even in summer. And then there's the question of the 47th Ronin, Terasaka Kichiemon, the one who was spared. His grave was added later, but some believe his spirit still wanders, unable to rest. What compels people to return to this site year after year? Perhaps it's not just a story of revenge, but a story of something far deeper, honor so powerful it lingers beyond death. And in the quiet of Sengakuji, among moss-covered stones, their loyalty endures, in silence. In the rolling hills of Nara Prefecture, Japan, surrounded by ancient forests and solemn silence, lies a tomb no one may enter. It's marked by a simple torii gate, guarded by a ceremonial path, and watched over by imperial caretakers. Few speak above a whisper here, and even fewer approach too closely. It is the resting place of Emperor Jimmu, Japan's first emperor, and a figure who straddles the line between history and myth. According to tradition, Jimmu ascended to the throne in 660 BCE, said to be a direct descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu. His story was immortalized in Japan's oldest chronicles, the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, which blend historical events with divine origins. For centuries, his legend has symbolized the divine right of Japan's emperors to rule. And yet, despite his revered status, modern historians remain skeptical. There's no solid archaeological evidence proving Jimmu even existed. But what deepens the mystery is this: his mausoleum still exists, a real physical place, known as the Kashihara no Misasagi. The site is meticulously maintained by the Imperial Household Agency, the powerful institution responsible for the care of Japan's royal graves. It is declared sacred, off limits to researchers, archaeologists, and scientists. No excavations, no scans, no exploration. The reasoning: respect tradition. Reverence for the divine lineage. But not everyone accepts that explanation. Some believe the imperial household fears what might be discovered inside. What if the tomb reveals that Emperor Jimmu was a myth? Or worse, that someone else entirely lies buried there? Could such a revelation shatter centuries of national identity? Others whisper of ancient artifacts hidden within, scrolls, mirrors, or weapons of immense cultural power. Maybe even items tied to the legendary 3 imperial regalia, symbols of the emperor's divine authority. There are also rumors, unconfirmed, unspoken, of those who tried to study similar tombs, only to have their permits suddenly revoked, their findings sealed, their careers quietly stalled. In a nation of cutting-edge science and historical curiosity, the tomb of Emperor Jimmu remains a locked door. A national shrine guarded not by traps or curses, but by tradition, and maybe, just maybe, by something older than history. For now, Jimmu lies in silence, not forgotten, but forbidden. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs were gods. But there was one man, not a king, who was deified after death. A commoner turned genius, a builder, healer, philosopher, and architect of the future. His name was Imhotep, and his tomb has never been found. Imhotep lived over 4,600 years ago, during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser in the 27th century BCE. He designed Egypt's first true pyramid, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, a revolutionary leap from the traditional mastaba tombs. That alone would have secured his place in history. But Imhotep wasn't just an architect. He was a physician, credited with healing arts so advanced that later generations worshipped him as the god of medicine. Greek scholars, including Hippocrates, referred to him with awe. His name was whispered across centuries, long after his death. And yet, for a man so legendary, so accomplished, his final resting place has never been identified. You might expect him to be buried near the pyramid he built, close to Djoser, whose tomb still towers over Saqqara's sands. Many archaeologists have searched for clues in the necropolis surrounding the pyramid. Fragments of inscriptions, offering tables, and sealed shafts have been uncovered. But so far, no definitive tomb of Imhotep has been found. Why? Some say his grave was looted or destroyed in ancient times. Others believe it lies in one of the many unopened shafts still hidden beneath Saqqara, sealed for thousands of years, too unstable or too dangerous to excavate. And then there are the stranger theories. Some scholars wonder if Imhotep was buried in an entirely different region, away from the public eye, to protect sacred medical scrolls or powerful knowledge. Perhaps his tomb contains writings, blueprints, formulas, lost treatments that were never meant to be rediscovered. If even half the legends about him are true, his burial site could hold secrets unlike any other. Clues to medicine, architecture, even philosophy from a time when writing itself was new. But maybe, like his greatest creation, Imhotep built his own tomb to last forever and hide perfectly, not above the ground but beneath it, waiting for the right moment to be found. Until then, the desert keeps its silence, and the father of pyramids rests somewhere in its golden shadow. Long before the rise of Rome, a different civilization ruled the heart of Italy, mysterious, sophisticated, and deeply connected to the land of the dead. They were the Etruscans, and one of the greatest enigmas they left behind lies in the quiet hills northwest of Rome, the necropolis of Cerveteri. Spanning hundreds of acres, the site, also known as Banditaccia Necropolis, is not just a graveyard, it's an entire city for the dead. Carved into volcanic rock, the necropolis contains thousands of tumulus tombs, massive rounded burial mounds that resemble small hills from afar. Each one houses chambers arranged like homes, complete with beds, benches, columns, and even ceilings. The Etruscans believed the afterlife was a continuation of earthly existence, and so they built houses for the dead, where the soul could live in peace. But the deeper you go, the stranger it becomes. Many of the tombs are unmarked. Others have entrances blocked by stone or swallowed by creeping vines. Some contain vivid frescoes of banquets, dancing, and chariots. But others are completely bare, silent, cold, as if someone, centuries ago, intentionally erased their identity. Who lies in those tombs, and why are so many of them empty? Despite decades of study, we still know very little about Etruscan religious beliefs. Much of their language remains undeciphered. Their gods are alien to Roman mythology, and their burial rituals seem deeply symbolic, yet strangely inconsistent. Archaeologists have uncovered jewelry, pottery, even weapons, but entire sections of the necropolis remain unexplored. Some tombs go too deep, their staircases crumbled, their walls unstable. Others are rumored to contain secret chambers, sealed off by ancient collapses. Even more intriguing, locals whisper of a forbidden zone where tombs lie beneath thick brush, untouched, for centuries. Strange sounds have been heard there at night. Lights, voices with no source. Could it be that the most powerful Etruscan families buried their dead in hidden crypts, unreachable by modern tools? Or perhaps the Etruscans knew something about death that we've long forgotten, a secret about what waits on the other side, written in stone, buried in shadow. For now, Cerveteri remains a map of mysteries, a silent city beneath the soil, waiting. Across the windswept steppes of Central Asia, from the Black Sea to the Altai Mountains, lie thousands of strange earthen mounds, silent hills that rise from otherwise flat landscapes. These are kurgans, the burial mounds of the Scythians, a nomadic warrior culture whose way of life and beliefs remain shrouded in mystery. And inside some of these mounds lie the remains of their kings, entombed in splendor, surrounded by rituals science can barely explain. The Scythians flourished between the 9th and 2nd centuries BCE, and though they left no written language of their own, ancient Greek historians like Herodotus recorded stories of their prowess, their cruelty, and their reverence for the dead. When a Scythian king died, the burial process was elaborate, almost theatrical. According to ancient accounts, servants, horses, and even concubines were sacrificed and buried alongside the ruler. Grave goods included gold jewelry, weapons, fine fabrics, and sometimes entire chariots. And yet, many of these tombs remained untouched for millennia, frozen in time beneath permafrost. In the 20th century, Soviet archaeologists uncovered several undisturbed royal kurgans in Siberia and Kazakhstan. What they found stunned the world: perfectly preserved bodies with tattoos, mummified remains of noble women dressed in silk, and gold artifacts so intricate they rivaled those of Egypt and Persia. But many kurgans remain unopened. Why? Because some are considered sacred by local tribes, others are in remote, politically sensitive regions, and a few are said to be cursed. One famous case is the Issyk kurgan in Kazakhstan, where the so-called Golden Man was discovered, an armored warrior in gold buried in regal attire. But the true identity of the body is still debated. Some believe it was a prince, others claim it was a woman, possibly a queen or priestess. The deeper mystery lies in what these tombs suggest: a complex culture that revered both life and death, practiced ritual sacrifice, and left behind no temples, only graves. What secrets do the unopened kurgans hold? Are there texts, treasures, or technologies buried with the kings? Or did the Scythians bury more than just their dead, perhaps fragments of a belief system too sacred to share? The wind still howls across the steppe, and beneath those quiet hills, history waits, wrapped in gold and silence. In the dry plains of southern Pakistan, along the banks of the Indus River, lie the ruins of a city older than Egypt, Babylon, or Rome. Its name is Mohenjo-daro, meaning Mound of the Dead, a title that feels strangely fitting for what may be one of the greatest archaeological enigmas on Earth. Built over 4,500 years ago, Mohenjo-daro was once a thriving metropolis of the Indus Valley civilization, a culture that rivaled Mesopotamia in size, complexity, and innovation. Its people built multi-story homes, advanced drainage systems, granaries, and what some believe to be the world's earliest public baths. But what they didn't leave behind is just as puzzling. There are no temples, no grand statues of kings, and, perhaps most mysteriously, no tombs. Despite being a city that likely housed over 40,000 people, no formal burial grounds have ever been found. No royal necropolis, no tombs of priests or rulers. Not even a single elaborate grave that might suggest a leader's resting place. It's as if the dead simply vanished. Where were they buried? How were they honored? Did the people of Mohenjo-daro cremate their dead, dispose of remains in secret, or practice burial rituals that left no trace? Or could there be a hidden necropolis still undiscovered beneath layers of earth, or lost to the river's shifting course? Some researchers have speculated that floods or changes in climate may have washed away burial grounds. Others believe the Indus people had a spiritual belief system so different from ours that the bodies were never meant to be preserved, that perhaps memory, not the corpse, was sacred. Then there's the more haunting theory. In certain parts of the city, dozens of skeletons were found lying in the streets, bodies that seemed to have fallen suddenly, without wounds or signs of burial. Some researchers once proposed a rapid and unexplained catastrophe, natural or unnatural. What if Mohenjo-daro wasn't just abandoned, but silenced? Without written records, we may never know the truth. The Indus script remains undeciphered, and the people who built this vast city left behind no known mythologies or inscriptions to guide us. And so Mohenjo-daro remains a ghost city, where the dead walk unseen, and the tombs may lie not in stone, but in shadow. Hidden within the rose-colored cliffs of southern Jordan lies a city carved not by time, but by hand. Petra, once the dazzling capital of the Nabatean kingdom, is famous for its rock-cut facades, towering temples, and winding canyons. But behind its cinematic beauty is a deeper, quieter story, one of death, memory, and tombs carved into stone. To the average visitor, Petra is most known for Al-Kazne, or the treasury, its iconic face chiseled into a sandstone wall. But Al-Kazne isn't a temple, it's a tomb, and it's only one of hundreds. Scattered across Petra's rugged terrain are over 1,000 tombs, carved into cliffs, ravines, and hidden chambers. Some are grand and majestic, towering several stories high. Others are modest, half erased by wind and time. These are the cave tombs of Petra, and though many are visible to the eye, most remain unexplored, undocumented, and undeciphered. The Nabateans were master builders and astronomers. They aligned tomb entrances with solar movements. They buried their dead with offerings of incense, wine, and coins. Some tombs had multiple chambers, family vaults that may have held generations. But here's what's strange. Very few human remains have been recovered. Some tombs are completely empty, others have been sealed since antiquity, never looted, yet still contain no bones. Where did the bodies go? One theory is that Petra's extreme environment, its dry air, flash floods, and erosion, destroyed the remains over centuries. But others believe something more intentional occurred. Some archaeologists speculate that entire burial chambers may have been symbolic, intended not to house the dead, but to honor them through presence alone. There are also whispers of hidden tombs beneath the city, far below the canyon floor. Entrances too narrow to notice, or buried by landslides long ago. Petra was more than a city. It was a sacred space, and its dead were believed to be closer to the divine, sleeping in stone while watching the stars. Today, Petra remains a tourist wonder, but few visitors realize just how much of it lies unmapped and unspoken. Each dark opening in the cliff face may be the doorway to a forgotten soul, a royal priest, a child of the desert kingdom. And in the silence of Petra's shadows, the tombs wait, hidden, hollow, and haunting. Deep in the Arabian desert, surrounded by shifting sands and sandstone cliffs, stands a city frozen in time. Madain Saleh, once known as Hegra, the sister city to Petra. Like Petra, it was carved by the Nabateans, a nomadic people who mastered water, trade, and stone. But unlike its more famous twin, Madain Saleh remained untouched for centuries, sealed in silence beneath the desert sky. And it is here that over 100 monumental tombs lie carved into the living rock. These tombs, grand and imposing, are adorned with columns, friezes, and inscriptions in Nabatean script. Some stand over 60 feet tall, their facades weathered but still regal. The entrances are small, often just a narrow door at the base, yet behind them are chambers carved with eerie precision, often containing multiple burial niches side by side. Who were these people entombed in such architectural splendor? Inscriptions give us names, professions, and warnings. Cursed be he who opens this tomb. Others list the tomb's owner and the fine paid to disturb it, evidence of a society deeply concerned with the sanctity of the dead. But many of the tombs are strangely empty. Bones, artifacts, even traces of offerings, missing. Some chambers are unmarked and undecorated, their silence even more profound. Were they looted, cleared in later eras, or never used at all? And then there are the unopened tombs, their doorways sealed with ancient mortar, never breached by modern tools. Out of respect or caution, they remain intact, locked away beneath the cliffs. Madain Saleh also holds a darker whisper. Local folklore has long warned against entering the site at night. Some say strange lights flicker among the rocks. Others speak of voices, shadows, and the overwhelming sense of being watched. The Quran references a people called Thamud, who once defied divine warning and was struck down. Some believe Hegra was their city. Whether by divine hand or natural decline, Madain Saleh was abandoned. Now, the desert reclaims it. Sand blows through its tombs, stone erodes under sun and wind, and the names of the dead fade into rock. But behind those quiet doors, history holds its breath, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to knock. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan's westernmost island, beneath the sapphire waters of the East China Sea, lies a structure that has puzzled divers, scientists, and mystics for decades. Some call it a natural formation. Others insist it's the ruins of a lost city, but a few believe it may be something even stranger, a vast ancient burial site, swallowed by the sea. This is the Yonaguni Monument. Discovered in 1986 by a local diver, the underwater complex appears at first glance to be a natural rock formation, but the deeper you look, the more deliberate it feels. Gigantic terraces, perfectly right-angled walls, staircases, a stone platform shaped like an altar. Some features resemble walkways or corridors, and at least one chamber looks eerily like a tomb, complete with a central raised stone block resembling a sarcophagus. Could this be the sunken tomb of a forgotten civilization? Proponents of the theory suggest Yonaguni was once part of a lost continent, Mu or Lemuria, a mythical landmass said to have sunk beneath the ocean. Others propose it belonged to an ancient Japanese culture, predating recorded history by thousands of years. If so, the monument may be over 10,000 years old, built long before the pyramids and lost when sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. Mainstream geologists remain skeptical. They argue the shapes could be the result of tectonic activity and natural erosion, sandstone breaking along straight fractures. But even they admit, some features are difficult to explain. Tool marks, stone pillars, a path leading from the monument to the shore. And nearby, other submerged formations that appear intentionally aligned. Local legends speak of an ancient kingdom that vanished beneath the waves. Fishermen have long told tales of ghostly lights beneath the sea, of voices rising from the deep, especially near the full moon. But the most chilling detail? Divers report a strange stillness at Yonaguni. Not just silence, but a pressure, as if something is watching from the stone. Cameras malfunction, compass needles spin. Whether natural or man-made, Yonaguni remains a monument to mystery. And if there are tombs hidden in those submerged halls, they may belong to a civilization whose name we never knew, and whose dead still sleep beneath the tide. Beneath the elegance and brilliance of Paris, the city of light, lies another world entirely. A shadow city, cold, silent, and eternal. Carved into the limestone bedrock are tunnels that stretch for over 200 miles, winding like veins beneath the surface. This is the catacombs of Paris, and within its damp walls lie the remains of over 6 million souls. In the 18th century, Paris was growing rapidly, and so were its problems. The city's cemeteries had become overcrowded, unsanitary, and dangerous. Graveyards overflowed into basements. The scent of decay filled the streets, and disease followed. The solution was drastic: exhume the dead and move them underground. From 1785 onward, workers dug up centuries of bones, transporting them by torchlight into the old limestone quarries beneath the city. Skulls were stacked into patterns. Femurs formed walls. The bones of saints, nobles, beggars, and criminals, all indistinguishable now, rest together in eerie silence. But while the upper levels of the catacombs are now open to tourists, complete with signs and railings, the deeper levels remain sealed, uncharted, and dangerous. And that's where the real mystery begins. Urban explorers, known as cataphiles, have mapped forbidden tunnels and stumbled upon strange rooms, underground chapels, murals, makeshift cinemas, and once a room filled with recording equipment still running, but no one there. Some claim the catacombs are haunted. There are reports of voices whispering from the dark, of being watched, of footsteps echoing behind only to find the tunnel empty. In 2004, police found an entire underground cinema, complete with a stocked bar and electricity. When they returned days later, everything had vanished. Then there's the case of a camcorder discovered deep inside the tunnels. The footage showed a man alone, wandering, growing more panicked as he got lost. The video ended abruptly. He was never identified, and his body never found. The catacombs are a place of memory, but they are also a labyrinth of forgetting. Names fade, bones become walls, and time dissolves into stone. To walk the catacombs is to step between worlds, the living and the dead, the known and the unknown. And the further you go, the more you feel it. You're not alone. Long before Babylon and long before the Bible, there was Ur, a powerful city of the ancient Sumerians, nestled in the southern reaches of Mesopotamia in what is now modern-day Iraq. By 2600 BCE, Ur was a thriving metropolis, its ziggurats towering above the desert, its people writing the earliest known texts on clay tablets. But it is what lies beneath Ur that captures the imagination. In the 1920s and 30s, British archaeologist Sir Leonard Woolley led a series of excavations at the site. What he found shocked the world, a royal cemetery unlike anything seen before. Over 2,000 graves were uncovered, and within them, treasures that seemed more legend than real. Among them were 16 royal tombs, belonging to kings and queens of early Sumer. They were no simple burials. The dead were adorned in gold headdresses, silver robes, and intricate jewelry. Chariots, musical instruments, and weapons rested beside them. But what truly made these tombs stand out were the other bodies. In some tombs, dozens of attendants were buried alongside their rulers, arranged in perfect order, their hands folded, their eyes closed as if sleeping. Men and women, guards and musicians, all laid to rest at once. Some wore helmets or carried lyres. Others had cups beside them. Were they sacrificed? Were they willing? No one knows. One of the most famous discoveries was the tomb of Queen Puabi. She was buried with unmatched riches and at least 52 attendants. Her identity, role, and story remain largely unknown. Her name found only in a single cylinder seal. And then there are the artifacts, items with craftsmanship far beyond what was believed possible for the time, some still puzzling metallurgists today. decorative objects made with materials from distant lands, suggesting vast networks of trade and influence. But there are rumors too. Woolley's notes mention a possible sealed chamber beneath one of the tombs. Never opened, its entrance too dangerous to clear. Some say it was never pursued due to fears of collapse. Others believe something was hidden there, an object or truth not meant to be uncovered. The sands of Iraq still whisper the names of kings and queens buried in silence. And deep beneath Ur's forgotten ziggurat, ancient royalty may yet lie in their golden sleep, undisturbed and watching. Just south of Cairo, on the edge of the vast Egyptian desert, lies a place where the dead have been buried for over 5,000 years. Saqqara, the oldest and largest necropolis in Egypt, is a sprawling landscape of tombs, pyramids, and forgotten passageways. But even after centuries of excavation, Saqqara continues to reveal its secrets, one chamber at a time. Most visitors know Saqqara as the home of Joseph's Step Pyramid, the first of its kind, designed by the legendary architect Imhotep. But beyond that iconic monument, beneath layers of sand and silence, lies a city of the dead that is still being uncovered. In recent years, archaeologists have discovered dozens of untouched tombs, sealed shafts with vibrant colors preserved for millennia. Some are lined with gold, others inscribed with prayers, spells, and names thought long lost. In 2020 alone, more than 100 coffins were found, stacked in shafts nearly 40 feet deep. Most hadn't been opened since the day they were buried. Yet even these finds are only scratching the surface. Saqqara is believed to hold hundreds, possibly thousands, of burial chambers that remain hidden. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed anomalies, deep voids, and strange architectural patterns, beneath areas previously thought empty. Some researchers believe an entire lost necropolis lies below, covered by centuries of shifting sands. What's inside these untouched layers? Perhaps high priests and royal officials buried with sacred texts. Perhaps unknown dynasties whose stories never reached the pages of history. Or perhaps something else entirely, objects or rituals the ancient Egyptians wanted to conceal, to protect, or to forget. Saqqara's layout is also puzzling. Tombs from vastly different time periods are layered on top of each other, as if generations kept returning here, not just out of tradition, but for a reason. The site's alignment with certain stars has led some to believe it was more than a necropolis, maybe even a celestial map carved into the earth. Despite all our knowledge of ancient Egypt, Saqqara remains humbling. The deeper we dig, the more questions we uncover. And with each shaft opened, with each sealed door broken, we get one step closer to the forgotten heart of Egypt's eternal city of the dead. In the gentle hills of Suffolk, England, not far from the river Deben, lies a grassy field that seems quiet, ordinary even. But beneath that soil is one of the most astonishing archaeological discoveries in British history. A burial site so rich, so mysterious, that it transformed everything we thought we knew about the so-called Dark Ages. This is Sutton Hoo. Discovered in 1939, the site held the remnants of a 7th century Anglo-Saxon ship burial. At over 80 feet long, the ship had been dragged inland and used as a royal tomb, its wooden frame gone, but its imprint still preserved in the earth. And inside, a treasure hoard fit for a king. Gold clasps, jeweled weapons, a ceremonial helmet, silverware from Byzantium, and a shield covered in symbols of power. But no body. To this day, no human remains have ever been found in the main burial chamber. Some suggest the acidic soil dissolved the bones. Others believe it may have been a symbolic burial, honoring a great king, possibly Raedwald, a ruler of East Anglia, without actually burying him. But Sutton Hoo is more than just one grave. Dozens of other mound burials scatter the landscape, many of them robbed or forgotten. Recent excavations have revealed smaller, untouched graves, including that of a young warrior laid to rest with his sword and shield, and a woman buried with lavish jewelry and a mysterious bowl of glass. Who were they? Royal family members? Priests? Foreign visitors? Even more intriguing are the anomalies. graves with no markers, or faint impressions that suggest structures once stood there, now erased. What secrets lie beneath mounds that haven't yet been explored? There are whispers, too, of burials beneath the riverbank, long lost to erosion or covered by rising waters. Graves of people whose names never entered the chronicles, but whose presence once shaped the birth of a nation. Sutton Hoo reminds us that history isn't written in ink alone, it's written in earth, in silence, in treasure buried not for glory, but for memory. And somewhere beneath those green mounds, the stories of the forgotten still wait, wrapped in shadow and gold. Deep in the jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, wrapped in thick green foliage and silence, rise the ruins of Palenque, one of the most exquisite and mysterious cities of the ancient Maya. Its temples are steep, its palaces intricate, its glyphs carved with a quiet authority. But it is beneath Temple Theed where something truly otherworldly was discovered, the tomb of the Red Queen. In 1994, archaeologists were excavating near the famous Temple of the Inscriptions, home to the tomb of the Mayan ruler Pakal the Great, when they stumbled upon a sealed chamber next door. It had been hidden for over 1,000 years. Inside, they found a stone sarcophagus, untouched. When the lid was lifted, it revealed a skeleton, female, cloaked in a fine red powder of cinnabar, a substance made from mercury ore. The air itself was toxic. The entire burial chamber had been carefully coated in the substance, a deep crimson meant to preserve or perhaps protect. To this day, no one knows her name. She was buried with exquisite jade jewelry, a heavy funerary mask, and offerings fit for royalty. Her age, around 60, suggests she lived a long, respected life. Some believe she was Pakal's wife, possibly Queen Tsak Buajau, though no inscription confirms it. And what makes her tomb even more mysterious is how deliberately it was hidden, sealed behind walls, with no direct access from above, as if her burial was meant to be secret or sacred. 2 other skeletons were found in the chamber, likely servants or attendants, sacrificed to accompany her into the afterlife. Their remains lay close, quiet, and forgotten. Was she a queen, a priestess, a ruler in her own right? No one is certain. What is certain is the care, reverence, and perhaps fear that went into her burial. Cinnabar was not just decorative, it was dangerous, symbolic, sacred. The Maya believed it had powerful spiritual properties, capable of connecting the world of the living with that of the gods. Today, the Red Queen rests in Palenque's museum, her mask and bones preserved, but her identity still cloaked in crimson mystery. And in the jungle temple where she once slept, the air still holds a hush, as if something ancient still watches. In the heart of the Mediterranean, on the small islands of Malta and Gozo, stand some of the oldest freestanding structures in the world, older than the pyramids of Giza, older even than Stonehenge. These are the megalithic temples and tombs of Malta, built over 5,000 years ago by a prehistoric people whose name, language, and beliefs have been lost to time. And within them lie mysteries that science has yet to explain. Scattered across the islands are a series of massive stone complexes like Hagar Kim, Menajdra, Tarxian, and the deeply enigmatic Hal Saflieni Hippogam. These were not mere homes or shelters, they were sacred spaces, often aligned with celestial events like the solstices, and built with a precision that defies their age. But among the most curious features are their burial chambers, hidden rooms carved into bedrock, often accessible only through narrow, twisting passageways. In the Hippogeum alone, over 7,000 human remains were once found, carefully placed in chambers deep underground. Yet here's where the mystery deepens. Many of the skulls uncovered in these tombs were found to have elongated shapes, some with cranial features not typical of the local population. Theories have ranged from intentional cranial deformation to genetic anomalies, and even something more speculative. What kind of people built these tombs? And why did they disappear so suddenly, around 2500 BCE, leaving no clear trace? The tombs themselves whisper of a complex spiritual life. Red ochre paintings, still visible in some chambers, depict spirals, waves, and symbols that some believe represent an underworld journey. Acoustic tests in certain chambers reveal powerful resonance effects, tones that amplify human voices in strange, almost hypnotic ways, as if the architecture was tuned for ritual chanting or trance-like states. And then there's the Sleeping Lady, a small mysterious statue found in one of the tombs, depicting a woman in deep rest or death, her body curved in a fetal position. Who was she? A deity? A symbol of rebirth? The megalithic tombs of Malta remain one of Europe's greatest enigmas, immense, silent, and untouched by the empires that came later. Whatever they were meant to guard, they still do. Far above the tree line, beyond the Arctic Circle, where the wind never rests and the sun disappears for months at a time, the Inuit people have lived for thousands of years, resilient, resourceful, and deeply connected to the land and sky. Scattered across this frozen wilderness, in places so remote they are rarely visited, lie the tombs of the unknown Inuit. Small stone enclosures, almost invisible beneath snowdrifts, housing the remains of lives lived in the harshest conditions on Earth. Unlike grand pyramids or royal chambers, these tombs are modest, cairns made of stacked stones. Low mounds built from materials at hand, bones, driftwood, and whatever the land would allow. Some were family burials. Others seem isolated, as if placed far from settlements by intention or necessity. And yet, despite their simplicity, these tombs speak volumes. In 1912, explorers in the Canadian Arctic stumbled upon a line of Inuit graves stretching toward the horizon, each spaced precisely apart, all facing the same direction, true north. No markings, no names, just skeletons curled beneath flat stones, untouched by time. Who were they? Some tombs contain tools, carved ivory or stone amulets, tokens of daily life, or perhaps guides for the journey beyond. But many remain unopened, sealed by permafrost, protected by custom. Disturbing them is not only dangerous, but considered deeply disrespectful. Inuit oral traditions speak of spirit helpers and of souls lingering in places where lives ended suddenly. Some tombs are said to be watched by the wind, and locals avoid them during certain seasons. Whispers tell of travelers who approached with disrespect and fell ill soon after, as if something ancient still guards the dead. And then there are the strange burials, like the ones found high atop sea cliffs, where no human could have easily climbed. Were they placed there for protection, isolation, or something we no longer understand? As Arctic ice melts and landscapes shift, some of these tombs are emerging from centuries of snow. But with them come questions, unanswered and perhaps unanswerable. Who were these people? What lives did they live? And why were their graves built to face the endless white horizon? In the silence of the Arctic, their stories remain frozen and waiting. In the heart of Egypt's Fayum region, not far from the lush waters of the Nile, stands a crumbling structure, forgotten by many, overlooked by most. It doesn't gleam like Giza, it doesn't rise in perfect symmetry, instead it slumps, a battered shadow of ancient ambition. This is the Black Pyramid, the broken tomb of Pharaoh Amenemhat III. Constructed during Egypt's Middle Kingdom around 1850 BCE, the Black Pyramid was meant to be a marvel. It was one of the first pyramids built with a mud brick core rather than solid stone, a bold experiment in engineering. But over time, the structure began to sink, collapse, and crack under its own weight. And yet, beneath the ruin lies something extraordinary. The pyramid houses a complex of chambers and tunnels, unlike any other. It contains 2 burial shafts, one for the pharaoh and one, remarkably, for a queen. The passageways twist and turn with hidden doors, false corridors, and heavy blocks designed to confuse tomb robbers. But it wasn't just thieves they were guarding against. Some Egyptologists believe Amenemhat III was obsessed with the afterlife, his pyramid more fortress than tomb. The inner chambers were lined with polished limestone, and inscriptions hinted at cosmic journeys, transformation, and protection from the unknown. In the 20th century, archaeologists descended into the buried heart of the pyramid. Inside, they found a red granite sarcophagus, perfectly positioned, but empty. No mummy, no treasure, no clear sign of when or if the tomb was ever used. Was the pharaoh ever buried here? Or was he moved before the structure failed? Even stranger, deep in the sand surrounding the pyramid, tunnels lead nowhere, and sealed chambers remain untouched to this day. Some believe these may be decoy tombs, while others think they hold secrets meant to remain hidden, ritual spaces, or perhaps alternative burial sites for those the king chose to protect. Today, the Black Pyramid is closed to the public, slowly eroding in the Egyptian sun. It has no crowds, no cameras, just dust, silence, and a sky that never forgets. Whatever Amenemhat III placed within his pyramid, it was meant to last forever. And so far, it has.